Right, ladies and gents, Transformers Rise of the Beasts officially underway. We've got some images of the vehicles they're going to be using. So this will be the Decepticons, the Autobots. Some of it's good, some of it's actually really awful, and we'll kind of go into that in a moment. And it's not, the cars that they're using are great. Weird body kit on one of them, and I'll go into detail on that, and we'll talk about it. We'll have a word. We'll have a conversation. We do have some commentary from the director, Stephen Capel Jr. But this was tweeted out by Anthony Ramos, and it says, obviously, the squad is out. #Transformers. So we knew this was officially underway now anyway, and they don't tend to hide it when they're shooting these films. I'm guessing they like... Well, I mean, it's free advertising, isn't it? People talking about it. We can see very G1 inspired Optimus Prime there. Looks cool. Optimus Prime's going to be cool. Peter Cullen's back as well. So that's going to be really, really rad. Obviously, we've got the Decepticons on the right. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So this was, this is what was tweeted out. What was this, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Quite late yesterday as well, actually. Late for me, anyway, with the time zone difference and things like that. But a fairly nice roundup just to be like, oh, hey, look, we are shooting now. And this is the sort of close-up shot of what will be our Autobots. So, look, I'm guessing, I'm just throwing it out there. The yellow one will be Bumblebee. I don't know who the Volkswagen camper van will be. They're really expensive. They've done a really good job to get a hold of one of them. I mean, obviously, it's a film studio, so they've got all the money in the world. But they're still very rare. They're very hard to get a hold of. I don't know who that is likely to be, though. Don't really care about the bike. Fine. They've included bikes throughout this series and obviously in the originals and things like that. And it's fine. It's fine. But I personally don't particularly care. The Porsche looks great. Porsche looks rad. I love that. I love those Porsches. They're cool. They're just quintessentially cool, really, aren't they? But the real standout there is, of course, Optimus Prime. The colours are great, even down to, and this is, this bodes really well for the film in terms of the detailing. If you look at the back of Optimus Prime, what would be the trailer bed, I guess, or what would, connect a trailer to it anyway, the colorization there on what would end up being, I would imagine anyway, Optimus Prime's legs, the way that colouring looks is perfect. It's incredibly accurate to what he should look like. So they've done really well with that. Like, genuinely love that. Love the colorizations. They've nailed it. They have absolutely nailed it. So, yeah, thoughts down below on what the Volkswagen camper van is going to be, or who the Volkswagen camper van is going to be. Would love to hear your thoughts there. And again, like I say, did you notice the colouring on the back of the truck on what will be Optimus Prime? Love the stacks as well, on Optimus Prime. Love it. It's very G1 and it's cool. Who can hate G1? Super rad, super cool. Love it, love it, love it. And then we move on to this. So these are obviously the Decepticons. Look, if you didn't know, ladies and gents, which you probably should by now if you've been around for a little while, I've got a second channel and I'm really big into my cars. And I'm really big into my Japanese cars. That's an R33 GTR. And it has one of the worst body kits I have ever seen on an R33. It looks absolutely goddamn atrocious. I hate it. I absolutely hate that body kit. It is awful. Even the weird lights around, the headlights around. Oh my god. So if you didn't know, guys, again, if you want to see my second channel, it's in the description box. But we have an R33 on that channel that is being rebuilt. We've also got an R32 GTR. And it's awful. This body kit is horrendous. Like, I'm a fan of louvers as well. Don't like the way the louvers look on the back of this R33 Skyline. And look, it's purely just my opinion, right? It's just my opinion. I love Jap cars. JDM for the win. Just terrible, just awful body kit. It looks shockingly bad. And the wheels are terrible as well. But I will say this. Hopefully that bodes really well for a pretty bombastic looking Decepticon when all is said and done and the transformation happens. Because of such of the vibrant colours, this is me playing devil's advocate here, because of the vibrant colours, I'm hoping that that will actually end up looking really badass when it's changed and when it's transformed, you know? I think that bodes really well. So there are some pros here. The two big trucks, look, I don't know what they are, right? I think one of them's a GMC, from what I can tell, or from, you know, my limited sort of zoom in, you know, what I can have a look at. But they look cool, you know? It's robustness that the Decepticons have, that sort of brute force that you can, you know, it just oozes it from, you know, these two trucks, and then obviously the R33 Skyline, you know, crappy body kit, but it's still going to be cool to see one. It's nice to have the R33 Skyline floating around in a Transformers film. So there you go. There's the Decepticons and the Autobots revealed for the film. Now, what has the director come out and said? He says this, and this is nice stuff. It's quite interesting anyway. He says, we wanted to give the audience a lot of new elements. This is producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura previously said about the film's characters. He says, we've exhausted, I would say, the battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons, and how do we find a new set of villains and priorities? Saving the world is left to the Autobots, and in this case, the Maximals. So looking at those images, I'm not overly sure what, you know, whether we're seeing the Maximals there. I can't imagine so. Like, I'm looking at the Porsche, and I'm like, well, that's not going to be that, is it? Like, it's just, you know, it's not. Obviously, the Maximals transform into animals, right? But I'm hazarding a guess that they shouldn't turn into cars as well. But I'm just thinking to myself, well, how are they going to be in story anyway? In story, how are they going to be hidden then at that point? Are they just going to be floating around in their sort of animal form? I don't know whether that would work, whether it will sort of end up looking well or not. So obviously, from what we know anyway, obviously Maximals, etc., I would imagine that they are quite literally just the Autobots and the Decepticons. That's why I led with that. But anyway, so the Maximals and the Autobots are to defend Earth. That's fine, saving the world. And part of the new news, if you've seen the other movies, you're going to see villains you've never seen before and a lot of elements we've never done before. So this is relatively old news, but not really. Some people wouldn't have seen this or heard this stuff. And it is interesting. So here's from the director, and he says, we wanted to expand the universe. We have the Autobots, the Decepticons, and I would say my new flair to this is the Terrorcons. The Terrorcons are a new threat to Optimus Prime, and it's something I pride myself on when entering the franchise. I've done Rocky with Creed, and you bring the nostalgia that fans want, but also bring something they aren't expecting, and the Terrorcons are that. So that's cool. Like, that's nice, reassuring. And then last but not least, he said this. He says, when I met Lorenzo, because Lorenzo de Bonaventura is like sort of a thorn in a lot of fans' sides when it comes to properties. He's a producer. He's a money man. He's basically one of these guys that has quite a large amount of control, creative control over these properties, and sometimes he's absolutely garbage. But it's interesting. So this is a commentary from the director. He says, when I met Lorenzo and the team, I was like, where are we picking this thing up from? And he was like, 1994. And I was just like, that's a great era. You know what I mean? It has a lot of texture. It's rich in texture. It's also vibrant culturally. And as he said, it has like classic music, and there's a certain energy to the 90s that I'm looking forward to capture. Like, we've seen it on screen very few times. Sometimes you can play into it too much, but I think there's a level of like realness that I could bring to it. Fine. Lots of likes going on there, but cool. Fine. Sounds good. Like, I like the 80s, has been played out a little bit too much recently, so it's good that they're shifting to the 90s. And again, we get some epic cars there as well. R33 Skyline, despite the garbage body kit. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comment section. Which of these, I'm reluctant to say epic vehicles, but which of these vehicles are your favourite? The Porsche, Optimus Prime, the trucks, the Volkswagen Camper, and which of these? Two trucks, R33, which one? Which one is your favourite? Would love to hear it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Check out my second channel. Again, if you're into cars, check it out. You might like it. Thanks so much. Take care.